I had learned to read the signs the way other people read the weather. The tension in my mother's voice 3 days before my birthday, and the sudden emergency that always appeared just as my special day got close. My name is Winifred Case. I'm 29, and for years, I wondered if there was a version of my life where my birthday didn't have to compete for attention. My brother Desmond always seemed to have some kind of crisis. A sprained ankle, a panic attack, and once even a fake car accident. Somehow, each emergency happened 1 or 2 days before my birthday party. At first, I thought it was coincidence. By 29, I knew better. 3 days before my birthday, my phone rang. "Desmond isn't doing well, honey," Mom said, already sounding breathless. "We need to go be with him." I didn't ask what had happened. I already knew it didn't matter. "Okay," I said calmly. I walked into my bedroom, pulled a suitcase from the closet, and packed. By the time my family left the driveway, I was already gone. I didn't leave a note. I didn't need to. I'd already left pieces of myself behind in that house, especially in all those birthdays that never got to be mine. I drove 2 hours north with the radio off. For once, the silence felt peaceful. I wasn't enduring a decision anymore. I was making one. I checked into a small coastal inn with mismatched quilts and a quiet woman at the front desk who only asked for my name. I gave her my real name. It felt like the first honest thing I'd done in years. Around 6 p.m. my phone buzzed. "Mom, where are you? We're heading to your place for cake." I stared at the message. They had canceled my birthday again, and now they were acting as if nothing had happened. I typed 4 words. "I'm not home anymore." Her reply came almost immediately. "What does that mean?" "Winifred, answer me." I put my phone face down and stepped onto the balcony. The ocean air filled my lungs. For the first time on my birthday, I was exactly where I wanted to be. And no one had followed me. By midnight, my phone was overflowing with messages from Mom, Dad, and finally Desmond. "Everyone's freaking out," he wrote. "Just tell them you're fine so they'll stop calling me." Even now, somehow it was about him. His comfort. His problems. His inconvenience. Not once did he ask if I was okay. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my email and wrote to my therapist, whom I'd been seeing for 6 months. "I think I finally did what we talked about," I wrote. "I left before they could make me stay and disappear again." That night, I slept better than I had in years. I woke to sunlight instead of guilt. There were 11 missed calls on my phone. Then I noticed a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. I pressed play. "This is Detective Marsh with the County Sheriff's Office. I'm calling about a welfare check requested for Winifred Case. Please contact us as soon as possible." My stomach dropped. I called back. Detective Marsh answered quickly. "Miss Case, your parents reported concern for your safety. They said you left home suddenly and weren't responding to them." "I told my mother I wasn't home anymore," I said. "That's not the same as being missing." There was a short pause. "For the record, can you confirm you're safe and staying somewhere by your own choice?" "I'm safe. I'm 29. I checked into a hotel because my family canceled my birthday for the 4th year in a row. I decided I wasn't going to wait for the 5th. He accepted my answer and closed the welfare check. After I hung up, I sat quietly. That was when I realized something painful. In my family, concern always seemed to arrive disguised as control. My phone buzzed again. Mom had left another message. "We just want to know you're okay." Is that so wrong? I thought about every birthday they'd ruined. Every apology I'd never received. Every time I'd been expected to understand. I opened the message box and typed the only sentence I had left in me. "You wanted to know if I was okay. Now you do. That's all you get today." I turned my phone to silent and watched the ocean. I stayed at the inn for 3 more nights, longer than I'd planned. For the first time in years, nobody needed me to make myself smaller so someone else's emergency could take up all the space. Each morning, I walked along the shore with my phone charging in the room. When I returned, the messages had changed. The panic was gone. Now came the accusations, as if my leaving was the problem instead of the years of canceled birthdays that had pushed me to leave. On the 3rd day, Desmond called. I almost ignored him, but curiosity made me answer. "You know, Mom cried for 2 days, he said, as though I owed him an apology. "She cried because I left," I replied. "Not because she noticed I'd been disappearing for years." "That's not fair, Winnie." "No," I said. "It wasn't fair. Not for the last 6 birthdays." He went silent. Then he finally said what I'd waited years to hear. It's just easier when everything is about me. You've always been the stable one. You didn't need as much. I closed my eyes. There it was, the truth about my childhood, spoken without him even realizing it. I needed just as much as you did, I said quietly. I just stopped asking. I ended the call before he could respond. For the first time, the silence afterward felt like something I'd chosen. 5 days after I left, I finally drove home. The house looked exactly as I'd left it except for one thing. A birthday banner still hung crooked in the front window. It had faded in the sunlight, a reminder of a celebration nobody had bothered to give me. I stood in the driveway and stared at it like an old photograph of someone I used to be. Mom opened the door before I reached it. Her face showed both relief and hurt. You scared us half to death. I went to the coast for 4 days, I said. And I answered every call that mattered. You could have told us where you were. I did. You just didn't like the answer because it didn't give you a reason to come looking for me. She started to speak then stopped. Inside, Dad sat quietly at the kitchen table. He had the look he always wore when he knew he'd been wrong but wasn't ready to admit it. Desmond's fine by the way, he said. I know, I replied. He always is eventually. That was never the real issue. I placed my suitcase beside the door instead of taking it upstairs. It was a small decision but it mattered. I wasn't unpacking until I knew this house had truly changed, not until another apology proved it wasn't just regret for being caught. 3 nights later we sat around the same kitchen table where so many of my birthdays had been forgotten. I brought a folder. Inside were dates, messages, and the pattern I'd finally written down clearly. 25, I began. My birthday was cancelled because Desmond had a migraine. Mom stared at the table. 26. His breakup. 27. His car. 28. His panic attack that was over by dinner. I looked at them. And this year the emergency happened before I even got to blow out a candle. Mom's face went pale. Not from anger. From finally seeing what I'd been seeing for years. We didn't realize it looked like that from your side, she whispered. It didn't just look like that, I said. It was exactly like that. Dad cleared his throat. What do you want us to do, Winifred? I looked at both of them. I don't want you to do anything for me. They waited. I want you to notice Desmond without needing a crisis to justify it. I paused. And I want you to notice me without having to lose me first. No one spoke for a long moment. Then Mom reached across the table and took my hand. It wasn't exactly an apology, but it reminded me of when I was little, when everything still felt safe. Next year, she said carefully, your birthday comes first. No matter what happens with Desmond. I let her hold my hand, but I wasn't ready to believe her yet. A year passed. My 30th birthday arrived on a Saturday in June. I woke that morning with the same old feeling in my chest, expecting the phone call that would turn my birthday into another family emergency. But the call never came. Instead, Mom arrived at 9 a.m. carrying a homemade cake. It was slightly crooked and imperfect, but somehow that made it feel even more special. Dad brought folding chairs for the backyard even though I hadn't asked anyone to come. Then Desmond arrived. He was quieter and calmer than before. No emergency. No crisis. No reason to make the day about him. No emergencies today, he said with a small smile as he placed a wrapped gift on the table. I laughed. For once the laugh came naturally. I didn't feel nervous or guarded. I was simply happy. We sat together in the backyard as the sun sank low over the grass. And for the first time, nobody else's problems decided how my birthday would end. That's when I finally understood what leaving had taught me. Love shouldn't require you to disappear so someone else can have all the attention. I had spent years making myself smaller to keep everyone else comfortable. This time I chose myself. And finally my family chose to follow.